Hello there.
Hello, Angus.
Robert the Bruce to you.
You've got Richard Gray, the director, and Angus, the actor, producer, writer. How are you?
Very well, mate.
Your Aussie accent's pretty good. This is a
Yeah,
long
man.
time coming for you, Angus, this movie. Long time coming.
It was a long time. 13 years. 13
I
years.
remember when I first sat down with you having read the script. I'm very happy that we're here today doing the commentary track. Do you remember where we were on this first shot?
This was the Isle of Skye, I do believe, where we actually finally made it to Scotland.
During The Beast from the East.
The Beast from the East, which was fortunately further down south and didn't affect us.
I love this shot. The aerial guys did a phenomenal job, and what I loved about the script was that it was set in winter and in the depths of winter. When over those years we didn't necessarily know where Robert the Bruce was during the winters of those 7 years, and so that's what really excited me about the project. But it certainly made it hard to film, Angus.
It certainly made it hard to film, as did horse riding in snow up to your waist.
Yeah, it was. There's your friend Jared Harris. How did you first come to meet him?
I think we used to play football together.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, the snow is sort of the main character in this in some way.
Well, what's amazing is there's no digital enhance, there's no CG snow in the whole movie. If you see it snowing like that, it's snowing. This church was built from scratch from our amazing production designers, Zach and April, and Sound Color Studios. And what I love about it is we were able to take license because, of course, if you're listening to this, you would have seen the movie. This is a bedtime story told by Morag to her children, and so she wasn't there. So she invented in her mind what she thought happened on this famous night, and we kind of loved having that artistic license. Is another thing I loved about the script. And here you come with James Douglas.
On a horse I could barely sit on. That horse was one of those plough horses, and half an hour on it and you get off it and you couldn't walk. You were bandy-legged.
And through the snow, like you said.
Yes.
And so Diarmid is a great actor who plays the famous character of James Douglas, and I thought you guys really hit it off together. Well, he's not a Scot, but he's pretty close.
Yes, he's a Celt. And you're an Aussie and we're all in the same boat. We're all criminals, according to the English.
Criminals.
According to the English Empire.
Yeah. I love this scene. I love that we can't see Jared for a while until he steps out.
Yeah, it was great that he came up to do this.
I love that you don't say anything, and this was your choice. You were like, no, just let him talk. And I don't think you say really two words to him in this scene, right?
Don't say anything.
No.
That was the old Steve McQueen school of acting. He used to hand his dialogue off to everybody else and react. And I thought that would work here, I think, just to keep him... You don't know who he is.
We're also setting the scene because Braveheart, it was a long time ago, and so we wanted to give relevance to where William Wallace was in all of this. And also, again, the narrator, obviously, who turns into Morag, the peasant farmer. She's telling a bedtime story, which is super cool. But when Jared starts mentioning your father and how you're kind of a loser compared to William Wallace, I love what's going on with your eyes around that time.
Yeah, it says you can say much more with the eyes in some way. It's sort of he's humiliating him in this scene.
And the Common, you were on the run from the Common for so long, even after the Bruce was king. So I love how this rivalry is set up.
I think Robert the Bruce is sort of in the process of becoming more Scottish at this point. You know, he was a noble and a foreigner, you know, and felt that he deserved these lands from some form of privilege, European aristocracy.
Your uncle tells it his way.
And when the kids, when we finally got to the farm, and we see, you know, Anna and Talitha and Gabriel Bateman, we finally know, oh, okay, it's a bedtime story, which is kind of cool. And we see Brandon Lasad, and I just love, because we thought we were watching one kind of movie, and then it gets revealed that no, we're listening to a story.
Yes, and so you really don't know what the truth is, because this is her version of the truth.
And how do we with history books anyway?
Exactly.
What a wretched wish that is for you to have.
It sort of goes back to the old Braveheart thing of history is written by those who hang heroes. So this is that again. This is the oral history as told by the peasants.
Throw yourself upon
Yeah,
the sword and die today.
And when characters were on the run, well, there's nobody to write about them, right?
Hollow, empty
Well, I think that was
When
what
you're
was
outlawed.
interesting about this is you've got a lot that is known about Robert the Bruce, but this one specific period where he vanished from sight and history, nobody really knows where he was. So there was a lot of freedom in a sense of what the story you could tell.
And we knew that he must have sought refuge with people that align with him, and we knew that he was on the run. So it was kind of an easy bow to draw that obviously he must have seeked refuge with people in these farms. And what are you going to do during the winter when you're on the run?
Yeah.
Big shout out to Vicky in the costumes. Everything made and sewed from scratch. She
A great
worked some
sight
late
to
hours.
see. Both men champions.
Yes.
Both battle hardened. They fought for the crown. For the supremacy.
This is one of my favorite moments, was taking the
And for the future of Scotland.
The cross.
cross and using it as a sword at first, and then as something to bludgeon him with.
Yeah. And so we filmed this section of the film in Montana, and very early on, once we decided to make the movie, we contacted Shoris Wallace, who was William Wallace descendant, but also in Braveheart. And we were concerned about how Montana would measure up to Scotland. But we would send him photos of these locations we had planned, and he was like, oh, that could be here. That could be Glencoe. That could be this. That could be... for every location we had, that could be Stirling, that could be here, that could be Bannockburn. And he kind of convinced us that, no, we could do a lot of the filming here. And of course we filmed a lot in Scotland as well, but for our production, with the amount of time we had to get the film together, it really made sense for us to shoot in Montana to begin with.
Yes. How much time did we have from the moment where we actually said?
After 13 years, I think we were shooting when you and I sat down with Anna Hutchison, who's fantastic and plays Morag, who introduced me to you. From that, we remember we were having sushi in Culver City. From that meeting where we kind of shook hands and we're both kind of a little bit in tears, for good reasons. I think it was less than 6. It was like 4 months. 4 months later, we were shooting.
I believe so. I think it was the end of June, and it was July, August, September, October. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the next thing I was up there, and it was the beginning of November.
Now these sets, again, they're all built from scratch, and they're not like movie sets. That they'll be standing longer than us. Like that stone came out of that ground there. It was bitterly cold every day on set, so it was about 9 to 13 degrees Fahrenheit. Which, what's that in? I should be the one telling. What's that in Celsius? Cold.
Fucking cold. Especially when we were wearing those outfits, which were basically pieces of leather sewed together.
Yeah. And these guys
feet.
had it the worst because they were peasants. And what I love about this scene is it's just setting up the difference between the nobles and the peasant farmer and the hutch, and the fact that just getting water was such a big deal in such a nice way. Because this is the story of the widow and the orphan children that saved the King of Scots. And I think
Yes.
that's what makes it original and special.
We were actually quite lucky with the weather because it does seem to snow just at the right moment, and then not snow at the right moment.
Yeah. Yep. We did feel a little bit blessed at the Croft. That's a lovely shot. So John Garrett, is a cinematographer, did a beautiful job. Hoping you all got to see it on the big screen, but if you didn't, I hope you're watching it on a nice big TV. This is a nice scene, Angus, when you've given up and you thought you were doing something for God.
Yeah, that idea of ambition. Mm-hmm. That you claim you're doing something for God, but deep in your own heart, it's all about you and your ambition. Sort of something which a lot of politicians do these days and always have.
But the fact that Robert the Bruce got to the stage where he basically gave up and doubted his right to the throne, right?
Yeah.
So you've got Patrick Fugit there, who's fantastic, as playing a bad guy, which is nice to see in him. But the great thing about the script, Angus, with you and Eric Balgao, the co-writer, there's no bad guys really, because this guy gets told that all that he's been fighting for and all that he's lost is not worth anything. He's just expected to go home.
Yeah.
So he's going to try to make a bit of a reward before that happens, and so he's not really evil.
No. He's disillusioned.
Yeah.
He's had his illusions shattered, just as Robert the Bruce has. So what do you do at that point? You try to make the best of it, and if there's 50 pieces on the head of the king, and you know,
The king's given up.
the king's no longer a king.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they might as well try and become some kind of hero.
So Dermot, of course, James Douglas, the other actor with the white beard you saw was Nick Farnell, longtime friend and another producer of the film. And Judah is the child here, and he did a great job. And he's got a particularly hardcore scene coming up, but I thought he did a great job. And Braveheart was one of his favourite films, so he not that he was born when it came out, but that's what he said in his audition. That's what he said in his audition. And he was fantastic.
You tell them you fought with the common and the English all along. Go home! Go! Stop this talk now. You're the king.
What was cool as well, you could see how cold it was because all the breath coming from people's mouths, that wasn't CG, that was all...
Yeah.
That was
this
all,
is one of the
that was
warm
all
days.
real. Yeah, this is a warm day. Dearman's a very tall man, which was suited James Douglas. I think he's 6'5".
Yeah.
Was a boxer before getting into acting, so that worked for the role as well.
Yeah, he's sort of a real life James Douglas. He's the guy you want in your corner in the bar when all the shit goes down.
Because the love these guys had for each other was legendary. Legendary.
Their love was legendary.
So there's Nick, Patrick, and Will. These guys were great. I love these sub characters because they had a purpose and a mission.
Look at them. They're done. They've no fight left in them.
Shout out to the extras here as well. They were cold and looking great. Wait till the camera pans around to see these guys. That's a beautiful shot. It must have been so hard. So hard to keep up this campaign.
We had such a great team on this film of people behind the scenes who are doing all of the invisible work, which makes it all come together. And I mean, without everybody's 100% effort into making this, we'd never have crossed the finishing line on this film. I thought we were actually about to wrap after about the first day. I think the second day we had this huge blizzard which took the road out and nobody could get to work. And
we're like,
I thought-
if this is going to be every day, what are we going to...
I thought we
what are
were
we
done
gonna
that
do?
day.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like after 12 years, we finally get to actually film, and now we're going to wrap.
To the south, I reckon.
Aye.
This is a favourite scene of mine. So we set this up like a Western. You could see the Western elements of it. It's brutal, obviously, with the way it
50 gold pieces.
concludes, but
Is that your prize?
because these are good guys facing other good guys. Maybe Patrick Fugit's character
No,
is
it
less
wouldn't
good than the
matter
other
if there were
guys,
10, would it?
but they don't want to fight. They don't want to kill each other.
You I had for a decent man.
But James is obviously
Your
trying to
music
find the
has
king
been
to
very dear
protect
to me
him,
these past few months.
and these guys are looking for the reward.
You.
It's simple.
I've never liked you.
And it
anyway,
was
but I
bitterly
fought
cold
next to
this
you,
day.
And I'd have died for you as a countryman.
It's over, James. The Bruce failed.
Robert the
We
Bruce.
actually had a fishing scene at the
never
start of
lost
this
those
scene, but we
battles.
decided maybe we won't
You
go in
did.
the water.
And the men like you. You failed them. And now you chase after
This is
them
a
after
beautiful
some
shot.
reward.
Either we do it or someone else will.
Judas. Traitors all.
Max, what are you doing? Stay out of it.
You did nae need to kill Hamish.
He was armed,
Aye, with an axe he could barely swing.
and it was going in his back.
He's a child. We're leaving.
Gets me every time, that scene. But in the reality, you know, if a 12-year-old's going to run
Let's do
towards
it.
you with an
Where
axe,
we're going?
James Douglas is not dying
Unfortunately-
like this.
He knows where we're going.
Say a prayer.
it's brutal.
Say a prayer.
So young Judah did a fantastic role there. And I love the idea that they almost murdered James Douglas and none of the rest of the history would have taken part, but they didn't.
Yeah.
This is beautiful as well, just looking at the innocence of the horse. This was filmed in a place called Chico Hot Springs. That just, it really does look like Glencoe.
I can make you free, though, can't I?
And it's a beautiful scene where you're saying goodbye to your horse. And do you remember what happened when you, when you were trying to get rid of the horse, Angus?
Yeah.
He didn't want to
Didn't
go.
want to go.
he kept looking back to see if, do you really want me to go? Beautiful horse. Not the greatest to ride,
He was a nice. He was a nice
but a
guy.
beautiful horse.
So she was a nice girl.
Yeah. Music. So the music, the score, we get a lot of questions about the score. A composer named Mel Elias did a beautiful job of capturing Scotland, I think. What do you think, Angus?
Oh, I love it. It's always difficult when you go from a temporary track of the some of the greatest music which is thrown in there and it all sounds so great and you're always very scared when you're going to get the actual soundtrack. Is it not going to sound as good? And I never even realized we'd actually swapped it out because
I love it.
I think we did it bit by bit.
And that aerial, by the way, was the final shot of the film, with you walking over the ridge there. That aerial at Skye, Isle of Skye. That was the last shot. And you see, we just went from Scotland to Montana to Scotland to Montana, and you would never know. And I think when we filmed, when we screened in Edinburgh and in Glasgow and around Scotland, I don't think people ever picked up the difference of where we were for each of the shots.
Well, you don't get this kind of grass in Scotland, apparently.
They talked about the snow as well, but then I heard back in the day that there were
There would have
seasons
been.
where you had a lot of snow.
There was a mini ice age back in medieval times. So this was
This is
our
great.
first day,
This is first, and what a great shot.
and how lucky because the next day
Oh,
was
look at
when
the
we
sun.
hit the blizzard hit, and this was all covered
Yeah.
in snow. So we were very lucky to be able to get this.
Did we
This kind of.
We won. Good.
The next day, this was all
Fill this
completely covered.
Covered.
Horse, my lady.
I love
You
this
couldn't.
scene.
You couldn't
just
even
setting up-
walk
Who do you
there.
think you are?
No,
the king?
we couldn't. We couldn't drive there.
Yeah,
could-
well, couldn't even drive up there.
Same thing.
Is that enough?
I love this
We're all
scene
done?
because right from the start, setting up Gabe plays
so
Scott,
pretty.
just absolute love for his mother,
Beautiful.
Yes.
and just
Like you.
because how the film ends, this is their first real scene together, and how the film ends, it's so important that we see
You with me?
this, and it was such a beautiful day. It was cold, but it was beautiful.
It's he's so fantastic in this. You know, I saw a picture of him the other day, and he's sprung up about a foot. He's now
Yeah,
like I guess he was what? Was he then 12?
She'd never left us.
So it's
Didn't
so
know,
he's
but-
14 or 15 now, and he looks like a
Gabe-
teenager.
he's so that's Gabriel Bateman, and he
Yeah.
hooked him up along with his sister Talitha. They're just top of their game right now.
Oh, they're
so
they're
lucky.
doing just about every film
Yeah.
that's out there.
And so
They've
lucky to
cornered
have
the
a
market.
brother and sister. I remember you would Skype them, you know, testing their accents and seeing
Yeah.
their chemistry. But to have an actual brother and sister meant that, you know, between takes they're bickering with each other or playing with each other, having fun. And it was just, it carried through to their performances. You can't make up that stuff. This is a nice scene here. This actually reminds me a bit of Braveheart. Just when it dawns on you the loss when you look at the graves.
This was the day I almost lost my eye. Actually, that was the first day, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I slipped in those shoes because they had no grip,
leather, no grip.
and one of those long pieces of very hard stick sort of just caught the top of my eye. You can see there's a wound there. It was
Yeah, that's
about
right.
half an inch away from it would have gone into my eye, and we would have been finished.
That would have been.
That was
You
it.
we can't recast the Bruce.
That would have been it.
Michael's got a magic horse.
Jesus.
It's great.
All right. He's going up this way. 50 pieces, lads. 50 pieces.
So this is I guess, the element of the script that's great. There's this chase element where these three guys are hunting the Bruce, and we know that. But the Bruce is not running from anybody that he knows of. He's just, he's given up on the crown. But this is the first time the family that we met, who was narrating the film and telling the fairy tales about how he became king. This is the first time they meet. So it's kind of cool that when he meets them, they're telling stories of him, because right now he's feeling pretty
What'd you get me?
Medicine, as always.
discouraged and pretty bad about himself. This is all, none of this is a set. This is all, whenever we're inside here, we're in the middle of the frozen. we're never indoors. The windows are open. There's no glass, obviously, on the windows. It's most of the time it was colder inside than it was outside.
Amazing stuff, and how they ate, because it looked quite
Yeah.
new until they
Yes.
basically lit it up and sort of dirtied it up.
Yeah.
That was Zach and April,
Yeah.
very
Zach and
busy
April.
creating this
And-
world.
And Johnny, the DP, only wanted, to shoot with a candlelight. And I think it really comes through. Just the smokiness. It was hard to breathe in there. Like, it was smoky, but it felt real. And these guys,
It's my birthday.
Yeah, we all had hacking coughs by the end of this shoot.
and we had little mice friends as well, didn't we? Because somebody
the-
was
the
feeding
little
them
mice and-
mice.
had disarmed
We were
John
feeding the
Coleman.
mice cheese. Family.
These flashbacks I love.
Here are the two old codgers fighting it out. It's the first time we actually got to work together.
Looking sprite. Stunt coordinator Diz Sharp did an amazing job. Independent films, you don't have hundreds and hundreds of people and months to train. and what we wanted to do with our fight scenes, because this is not a fight movie. It's it's a personal drama. We wanted to make sure that everything we did do action-wise looked good, and this is a good example.
I like that little touch he adds there.
Yeah.
Sort of stealing his soul,
like an
as it
animal.
were.
Soul, yeah. The black common going down, and then we've got the red common.
So, of course, this tells the story from those who were in favor of the Bruce, that it was the other fellow who brought the sword to the room.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the story goes that it was the Bruce who lost his temper and brought the sword. So she's telling it from a different story, so it's a different angle.
Yeah, because she's aligned with the Bruce and she wasn't there.
Yeah.
And her husband and her brothers were aligned with you. And so, oh, this is fantastic. I love this. Is one of my favorite scenes. So this, Mari from Braveheart.
Maria, and this is Eileen Doncaster.
Yeah.
The girl here is actually
That's Talitha.
Talitha, who's the best girl in
the young present
Ivor.
playing your wife. Yeah, Ivor. Yeah.
Because they're all actually, in the end, they're fantasies of his in his head, of Robert the Bruce's.
This is Duncarron Ford, just out of Stirling. They were fantastic for us. This is all
Isle of
Scotland.
Skye,
Yeah.
just outside of Stirling.
Mm-hmm.
Isle of Skye
This
again.
is a great moment. Look at this.
What 50? Go! Pieces!
Again, the score here from Mel.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's beautiful. That was one of the second to last shots we did, Angus. That was it was powerful up there that day. It was windy.
And he'll fight again.
Very windy.
Maybe one of you will fight with him.
Not me.
He'll win.
Fantastic.
And we'll
camera
all
work.
be free.
Well, I saw him in the forest, looking near death.
Did you know?
I did. I really did.
So I'll tell you one story. When Anna here, who's phenomenal as Morag, brought me the script, she'd just done a film with you in the UK. And she said, I just worked with Angus and he has this script called Robert the Bruce. And she's like, would you like to read it? I was like, of course. But I'm a huge Braveheart fan. You can imagine how big Mel Gibson was in Australia in 1995. And I've seen that film dozens of times. It was the first DVD I owned, all that stuff. And I was scared to read it because I was like, well, what if it's not good? Or what if it's not something that we can pull together independently? But then I read it and I was like, oh, we can do this. This is something that we can do. And that I was just so excited because the story became personal, and it didn't become a smaller story. It just became a more powerful story than you can have 300 people fighting each other in the battlefield. But this was about something. Was that a progress for you writing? Did it switch from being something else to being this story?
Yes, it was a big epic movie, which was probably going to be 3 hours long. It spanned entire continents, and there were so many different aspects. The Knights Templar, the French king, the English king, the Pope in Avignon, Robert the Bruce, Jacques de Molloy, and this family was in the story, but it's a minor section of it. And after 4 years of trying to get that made and not be able to raise the money, we decided to strip it bare and make it a more intimate film, and we focused on this section of it with this family. And in doing that, it just sort of opened it up on an emotional level, which I don't think was there before that, because it was so almost over-adorned with historical epicness that it lacked a certain intimacy. And
We offer our gratitude for
you didn't care that much about characters, whereas here, because we were now able to develop
Yes.
them, it just changed the nature of the film, I
Who
think,
could use helping hand?
in a far more personal.
Said.
we'll be going.
What do you say, lads? Can't hear yous.
He's so evil in this.
It must have been so dangerous for them,
We'll be going.
unaccompanied with their brothers and husbands, going off to war.
You best leave us. Now.
You're going to be a hero, are you?
He won't have to.
I'll show you what happens to heroes.
Out. All right?
It's kind of a warning sign there. I love that line. I'll show you what happens to heroes because of what happens in the end. Everyone hit their heads on those
Yes.
spoons, you remember?
And that was something I discussed with Zach, was like, let's hang these things a little low because there hasn't been a man in the house for so long that the idea was that when I arrived, or Robert the Bruce arrived, he would keep hitting his head on them, because they weren't adjusted for there being a man in the house.
Just quickly, that hair combing scene, I love her line, Scots versus
yes.
Scots, to what end? Because it says a lot even right now, today in politics.
This was the day where I think I was the sickest. I mean, everybody kept getting sick, and we were all. When we weren't filming, I was lying over in a corner, puking my guts out, with a big wooden log for a pillow.
Yeah, that's right.
And snow
And
for a
snow
blanket.
I love this scene because it's so quick and brutal. And again, Diz did a great job to coordinate the action here, and everybody was all in. As you can
Well, it is amazing what you can do with
quick
editing.
and it's
Yeah.
over in 30 seconds, but it feels real.
I wish we had that shot of me walking along and going through the ice into the water there.
Oh, yeah. So Angus was walking from that shot, and we were following him, and he fell through the ice in the river. It just didn't quite work, but it was a great shot. But it also sets up the legend, even, that you could take out 3 guys.
Yeah, even when wounded.
Because Bruce was never somebody that didn't fight. Somebody that set up like
And there is our cave.
Yeah.
Hats off once again to the guys who built this. And
Zach and April and Sound Color Studios. This is, I think, the only set in the movie. I think. And then we get to meet Zach McGowan, who plays, again, a really likable bad guy because all his motives. That makes sense.
And who are you a soldier for?
Can you see I'm hurt?
I'm the sheriff. Who are you for?
So that's
We were
Shores
following
Wallace.
Robert the Bruce.
Looks like a gnome because he's wearing this little green beanie,
They're dead.
white bed, and behind him is Shane Coffey, who's I've worked with a bunch of times. They have this
Sure, you
nice
know, there's
trio.
50 pieces for him. I'll take you to him. And we'll share it.
So they're in the common land so that they're not sided with Bruce, but they have good reason as well because, Zach Branda lost his brother in the Bruce's Wars, and they've all lost people to the Bruce's Wars, so they're not particularly friendly or aligned with him now, and they know about the reward.
Finley, you and me. Well, lead the way.
Again, I love these scenes. They feel like a Western to me, Angus.
Hey, it's here.
It's just down there.
Zach's so brutal here, but I like
this
it.
is again the river.
He's so brutal. This is the same riverbed, yeah, of course. And he's so brutal, and we shouldn't be liking Patrick Fugett's character, of course, we're not, because we saw what he did to the kid. But he's so brutal, it makes you think for a second, like, who's the bad guy?
It's the Bruce's sword. He can't go far. He's wounded. What do you say? Will you help?
Aye. You will not feel the pain for long.
It's brutal. It's brutal. He deserves it, but it's still brutal. We begin to see the Shores' character here because he doesn't quite approve of this. And that pays off later. We just see some elements with him that he's not particularly liking the sheriff.
Here's the village.
Village. Built on an island in Montana. Executive producer Carter. A lot of the stuff was built on his land, and you would have no idea. We just transported into that place long, long, long ago. Those kids were great.
I never made it to this set.
This was last day of filming in Montana.
Yeah, I was sick as a dog. I think I was laid up.
Yeah.
It was like,
That's what happens at the end of a shoot like this, right? Buddy just says, I've had enough.
Secret among ourselves. We tell no one. Neither man nor woman can lie.
But all these sets are still standing like they were because they weren't built like sets. And they look very different in the summertime.
You'd fight him to the death. Our king.
So Zach I'd wanted to work with for a long, long, long time. He was meant to be in a previous film of mine, and then he got the Black Sails job where he was one of the leads in Black Sails. And just since then, you know, you form a bond with an actor, and then since then you try to work together, but sometimes it takes years. And so it took six years from a different film we tried to make together before we got to do this. But he's a great horseman and a great stuntsman. It kind of helps to have somebody so physical.
and a great drinker in the bar. Great guy to have
Goes
around.
all right with the
on
ladies.
set in a small village.
This is one of my favorite
Well,
shots.
this is classic Scotland. The mist
It's
hanging over
it's
the
beautiful. It's beautiful.
hanging over the hills.
And to give you a secret tip, the smoke that's coming from the left that looks like it's from the town or
Yeah.
a campfire, that's actually from our generator that was
wow.
breaking down. But it's just such a cinematic shot. Oh, the spider. Now, Angus, we talked in length about this, and going with a realistic, not Lord of the Ringsy type of style to convey such a famous story was crucial for us, and we kind of decided that less was more, and to make the spider real.
Yeah, and then we discovered that we were 30 minutes away from the one place in America which had a department which studied spiders. And we couldn't believe our luck, so we got in contact with them, and this woman was a very lovely lady. She brought the spiders in for us to meet them, and said, yeah, they should perform. They should, as long as we keep them nice and warm and these things. Unfortunately, they didn't like the warmth of these the paraffin heaters, the gas heaters. That was a turn off for them, so they wouldn't spin.
It wouldn't spin, and so we used this incredible stock footage, and just stuck with wanting to see a real spider, because all these stories, whether they're history books or in the Bible, must have come from somewhere. And so, was the spider really talking to him? Was it a Charlotte's Web type or Lord of the Rings type spider, or was it a moment where he saw a creature doing something phenomenal that gave him inspiration? And so we tried, like with everything with this film, we just tried to keep it real.
I think it's the mythology of the spider, the Bruce in the cave. Is, you know, he becomes one with nature. He goes into that cave to die, and then of course the spider starts communicating with him modern psychology,
Why do you do that?
the spider represents schizophrenia. So he's to some extent going mad in that case,
Yes.
which is a fate worse than death. So I think it pushes him out of the
Yes.
cave.
When the mind goes.
Maybe you can show my men how to shoot an arrow.
And when I was in two minds, not growing up in Scotland about the spider and what needed to be done, I called a lot of people, obviously including yourself, but Shoris and all these guys, and said, can you do a film about Robert the Bruce without the spider? And every single person said, you cannot. You cannot do that.
You really wanted to get rid of that spider. You were like determined to
I
get rid
didn't know,
of the
no.
damn
I didn't know. I
spider.
didn't know how to. I didn't know how to do it in this story. But we found a way, and now I love it. I love it. It gives you strength.
It's chipped.
There's a real there's a beautiful poetry to that moment when he leaves with that poem, which the spider has I think he's gotten that poem from the spider.
I know you've been learning from him.
That gets repeated in
Yeah.
your fever dreams when you're healing in the croft.
So, finish your
This is a great scene because Zach
on your skill.
McGowan
Even prove yourself to his daughter, huh?
is her brother-in-law,
Gold for the handle.
but his brother has passed.
Must be perfect.
And he clearly wants to be with her, but she doesn't want to align
She
with
can't
him.
stand him.
But he has so much. She can't stand it. She has so much power. There's some great cinematography here when they're in the same shot
You
coming
can
up.
just see
where
it in
she's
her
just-
eyes how much she dislikes him.
Yeah, she wants him to leave. She wants him to leave.
But does not want to offend him.
There are soldiers here.
But he does just want to protect her, but not in a way that she's interested in.
But for how long? Don't you ever think about living in the village?
We're happy here.
Happy but not safe. I want to help you.
You do help.
My
It's like a
house
forlorn dog here.
is safe, large, warm,
Yeah,
and lonely.
this is a great shot.
Singing it echoes. When you were my sister-in-law, you used to love to listen to those songs.
It's only now you get to see what's really on her mind.
They're dead, you know. Those men. I killed them. You'd never need to fear for strangers if you lived in a village.
That's not what we want to.
Well,
I think this was
this is my
Zach's
last time up here
first day.
before the snow melts.
It was so cold, you can see it.
When I-
Morag probably had it the hardest because, as the peasant farmer, she didn't have any furs
It's of age.
or any big jackets that she could wear. So basically, it was just
Some of their kindness to you.
she was in a sack, a Hessian sack. Whereas the guys at least got to have
Here.
some outerwear garments.
Some nice robes.
For him in the village.
Yeah, robes and furs.
Come with him. Bring the rest of your pack. I'll take care of
You
the
can see it
both.
in her eyes. She's fantastic.
No, I'm a rough beast, Mark.
Oh,
But you will come to me.
editing. Haley. We talked about the editing before. Haley Brown, she was on set with us and she was cutting every day. She did a phenomenal job over a long period of time. Here we go with the spider. He looks so real. So, Blacksmith.
Yeah.
Old friend of yours, Kevin
Yes.
McNally. What a beautiful man. Beautiful man.
Carney.
Emma?
For your father.
So Emma, of course, people would know from Shameless and Roseanne. And this was her first feature film, and she was just so excited.
Hand to a master that is smooth, strong. Listen, boy, you're still my apprentice. Turn again and again and again and again and again.
Brenda said you'll sell the gold.
No here. Far from here. France. Maybe. Boom.
So how'd you meet Kevin?
Kevin and I did a show for 4 years together called Turn, Washington Spies.
Yes.
And he's
Very good show.
he's very versatile. He can really, I mean, he's really. I love his comedy. He's a very funny guy, and this.
He told a great story about how he played a blacksmith, I think, as his first ever role. And then he was playing a blacksmith in this role, then his next role was going to be a blacksmith again. Yeah. His very first role was a blacksmith. So it was kind of meant to be. And Emma did a great job. I mean, she looks the part. So Emma Kenny, you would know her if you look her up. And these guys with Brandon Lasard, they worked up very hard together with their accents and their chemistry, and I think it comes through. And they again look at that snow.
We were so lucky with the snow falling just at the right moments. We had a few of those days.
We got real blacksmith in. We did. We'll talk about the deer scene later, but this is a real blacksmith working on this, so this is all real.
That was the hottest spot to go and stand on the set because it was nice and warm by that.
Yeah.
I don't believe him.
Brenda.
I love Brandon.
It's the finest sword I've ever seen.
Carney's never liked Brandon.
Brenda's not a man to be trifled with.
Whose is it?
He's a dog. I love
Scott
it.
says he saw a man in the
Brandon
forest.
was a dog.
Scott is always the boy who cries wolf. You know that? Now get to bed before you wake the children.
I'm not a child.
You've always had a grown way about you. I love you like a son.
I must do what I believe is right.
What's great about this section is
Brenda's a dog.
Morag's beginning to realize that the premonition that she received is coming true. Like, her son says she saw Robert the Bruce. Now there's this sword that's here, and now her adopted son is saying this is no normal person's sword, and she's beginning to think that it's from God, and the only reason she can sacrifice what she sacrifices is because she believes in the greater good, and now she has Robert the Bruce's sword, and she knows it because of the premonition. But she also knows what comes with that premonition. She knows her son will die, and so this is a really crucial and beautiful part of the film. This is probably top 3 shots, right? Look at that. Anna up there on the horse in this little witchy little cabin. This was maybe the last day of day of filming. So Melora is a good buddy of mine, and Boogie Nights and Magnolia are kind of my favorite films, and so whenever I get a chance to work with Melora, I do, and she brings something special to the film. I know you had a lot of, when you wrote this character, you thought she was very important.
When my son was born, you told me in a dream.
Again, the photography here from Johnny is
that you'd seen him on the battlefield.
And now finally we catch up and understand what's going on in the bigger picture.
You told me he was with Robert.
And this was the thing, we were always talking about how much emotion should be displayed. I kept saying, the Scots are very internal. They don't show a lot of emotion. They keep it inside. So that was always the note, was to sort of be very. What was the word that we kept on using? Do you remember? There was a specific word.
One of the words, I don't know if it was the word, but there was the word
stoic. That was it.
You
Stoic.
would say to me stoic. Yeah.
Yeah.
You would, mm-hmm.
There was a certain stoicism.
Because there's a bigger picture. A bigger picture going on.
It's like you must endure.
And this.
You must endure.
These guys.
And again,
had great,
this is also
fantastic.
they must endure the.
But she's just basically found out that the premonition means that with Robert the Bruce around, he's going to go with that spider. I won't overlap this spider because I love this bit. We can listen to this.
I understand. A spider's web must be spun. A lost soul's journey must be one. The king's delight must be undone. The song of justice must.
It felt so natural and real, like a biblical tale. Like this is Glenn.
Yes,
Cole?
right at the beginning of it.
Mm-hmm.
Heading north.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. It's really.
And so this starts like although movies are in 3 acts, this starts kind of the second half of our film. Like we think that Bruce is dead, but we have this spider that saves him.
Well, propels him from the cave.
Inspires him. Beautiful shot. And then we get this magic moment.
So let's talk about, is this the moment with the snow?
Yes, we were hunting this deer, and we had to stop halfway through the shoot, but the snow, as you can see falling through the frame, was very evident, but we had to stop halfway through.
Because you ran out of light.
Because it was
Oh,
too
that's
cold. And it was too cold. We had warnings that it was too cold
with the kids, yeah.
to film. Yeah.
Yes,
and
you could see they were fingers were going blue and stuff.
yeah, look at it. So we had to come back, and we only had one half a day that would possibly do it to come back, and it wasn't snowing. It was a sunlight day. But then when we got to set to shoot this section of the scene, and you can see the snow is perfect here. It matches continuity wise. When we came back, what happened?
Well, I was sitting over a wee bit away waiting for the next scene, and I heard this roar of approval, and I was like, oh, I guess it must have started snowing over there. And it was like this one little section where it just started snowing. It wasn't snowing where I was.
It didn't snow the whole day, and then when we came to reshoot the second half of this scene, not reshoot, but capture the second half of this scene, it started snowing again. As you can see through all these shots, the snow remains consistent. And we had a few of those moments throughout the shoot, didn't we, where it just felt like it was meant to be, and that we were getting looked after for whatever reason.
Well, the name of the film at one point was A Mighty Hand. And it felt like a mighty hand indeed was helping us out from time to time.
Now this was one of the hardest scenes I've ever shot. So this was severe conditions, but we decided this scene was originally going to take place around you,
That's
Angus.
right.
But it's like they would not talk the disrespect for the king. They would not talk this conversation
would kill him.
Yeah.
next to him. So we took it outside, and you can see the conditions.
We'd be rich.
His life is in our hands.
But it made the scene. Like I wouldn't
If we help him,
take it back.
we'll have to leave, won't we?
You
Brando will
can
have
measure the cold by Morag's nose.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
And shout out to sound. Aaron on sound recorders.
That's his
It's incredibly
sword.
hard to get good sound in these scenes, and
Brando
they
lied to
were.
me.
They just did. Look at
Kill
that
him.
shot. They just
Morty.
did it. That's a poster shot right
Brando's.
there.
Brandon lost men he loved to the Bruce's wars. Yoki, his friends.
And to Talitha and
He'll
Gabe
always
and
be
Brandon.
much.
Can't say enough
Not a
about
word.
their dedication to it.
Come inside.
Smoke hut. Big shout out to the makeup department here. This is great stuff. It was a hot knife that came at you, Angus, here. A hot,
Yes.
hot knife.
I need your help.
That was a funny moment.
The knife was actually glowing
Yeah,
red.
I think it was accidentally put in the fire
Help me get him
to heat it.
This actor, younger
Sometimes
actors.
they forget that we're in a movie,
Get a cloth.
and so he actually put it in the fire to heat it up, and then it was placed on my.
And then they
And then
applied it.
hot rubber was placed on my leg, and it gave me. I certainly jumped out of my skin.
Right.
It saved us on visual effects, though.
It saved on audio too. It was the scream was real.
The audio, it was real. This is great.
Steady him over.
So now we're setting up
He kicked me
that
in the chest.
Scott
He kicked me.
just really
He hurt me.
dislikes
That
the
was shock
Bruce
as
because he lost his
Now he's like,
dad to a war that he doesn't understand.
can he the knife?
And all of this stuff is really
Yeah.
great.
Alright.
Carney is able to see
Hold
through
it
it. Talitha is able to see through it.
Over.
But young Scott doesn't get that he doesn't like this guy, and I think that's what makes
There it
the
is.
film work.
Hold him down. Hold him.
It was hot.
Can he hear? Tie it. Tie it tight. Good. Ivor, Carney, back to your work. Scott, come here. Are you hurt? Where?
We start to set up that she's choosing kind of God over her family, which
Yes.
she has to do in the end. Back at the tavern. So
Yeah.
Zach came up with this song after many nights at the bar with you guys, right? Do you know the
Yes.
origin of
I
this
wrote
lyric?
this stuff and then this dialogue for the song, and then
You wrote it,
and
right?
he basically improved on it. Well, I mean, he did this for many nights, getting ready for the actual day. This was a scene which was played
Very,
again
very
and again, night after
method.
night. Yeah.
Method. And there she is. Great costume. Again, Vicky. This costume is fantastic. They all think she's a witch, but she's just fantastic.
You're not welcome here, witch.
You're not still pining over that Morag, are you? A love that pains all.
This is Melora's idea to sing the song back to Zach. I think
Belongs
it's
forever
it's
to
great.
your
Yeah.
brother.
You best shut your mouth.
I will not.
Shall I buy you a wee dram then, Alpha?
I see what I see. A man like you, handsome as you are, important as you are, you're no wild thistle. But you'll be rich after the winter, won't you?
So he realizes that somebody's been blabbing about the
Yeah,
money.
he thinks. Yeah, so he thinks it's gonna be Finlay Shane Coffey. This is a cool scene. So Finlay here is just caring for his father, and of course she's predicted the future. He's done that.
Again, it's great that you didn't have a lot of snow here, to contrast with when the reason they can't get to the farm
'cause
is that the snow.
They can't get up to the croft. Yeah.
Were these not shot in the last days of filming?
Yeah, and Shane did not want the water to be warm.
You can see it in his face.
He was held
right
under
there.
for a long time. Yeah. Blows up red at his request. But these guys just trusted each other and just were, his face blew up there. This is the last day again.
Was
day
it?
filming. Yeah, I think everything in the tavern was the last day. Maybe the second last day.
Yeah, the last few days, yeah.
I think this is my favorite flashback coming
Yeah.
up here. The fever dream.
Yes. There was a nice little shout out to
Yeah.
Marie, who was the little girl with the thistle in Braveheart.
Braveheart. It's like, because it's like you're going home here.
I do love this shot.
Yeah, beautiful. The reflection.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like a dream.
Yeah.
Costume's fantastic too.
Yeah.
The coronation, you can remember.
This was in the castle.
Eileen
In the
Donner.
castle. Yeah. Oof. Beautiful. Like she's just
Yes.
waiting for you. She's waiting, as she did. I love this scene, the ghosts
Yeah.
of your past. That kills me every time.
We've won. The English gone.
And then just foretelling the future here. And do you remember that sunset we got, and how we had to hike up that hill to get the shot?
It was kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's freezing.
I was convinced that we didn't get it because it was so dark at that point.
No, it was so dark.
Song of justice must be sung.
I mean, look at
Wow.
Who are you?
The spiders web must be smelled.
that. It's a great shot coming up of here, Anna, because she kind of understands what she's holding the king in her lap. And your eyes open. This shot here, her look here is just, what is she? She knows the future.
Be sung. Again, we just the kids are just so fantastic in this.
Oh God,
Too far away.
the whole film.
Excuses.
These three of these guys are
Yeah.
just on a
Yeah.
different level. On a different level. They look like brothers and sisters, and they're happy, and they're freezing, and they're acting their guts out.
And the two young ones are California, born and bred.
You do what you can. Alright?
I don't want to fight them.
I know. But we all have to protect your ma. And I have to protect you too. If we have to fight, I'm gonna come on. I give the orders, or else someone might die. It might be him, or Ivor, or me, or you. Or it could be your ma. We're family.
It's incredibly cold, as you can see.
This is one of the coldest
There's
days,
a
wasn't
beautiful
it?
scene between.
And as you can see, they've got rags on, these kids. They had it the toughest time. They didn't
Yeah.
have gloves, you know, like we had these big, thick overcoats and stuff. They were rags.
Yeah.
That was closer. You'll get
Yeah.
even closer.
But they were so gung-ho to work every day. The day of the blizzard.
Oh,
The day of the
Oh,
blizzard, which was day
they
2.
just wanted to do it.
I as a producer,
Yes.
I had to stop the car and say, guys, we can turn around and go home if you feel it's too dangerous to go up this hill. And they were like, and the mother was like, don't ask me, ask them. And they went, we want to work. And they were like gung-ho to go up that hill and work.
They're the best. The best. I can't wait over the next 50 years to see their careers.
Yeah, well,
unfold. They'll do it all.
Versatility.
This is great. This is nice. Anna's first time seeing you awake. And you've, of course, had these dreams of him. And she's had the dreams of you. It's interesting.
Your fever's broken.
I know you.
No.
No, you don't.
I saw you.
Leave me alone.
You were near frozen when Scott found you. Rest now.
Something really ethereal about Anna.
Run along.
And you know, in general, but
Yeah.
really as well in this film, even though she's playing this woman of the earth, there's this ethereal quality, which is amazing.
Your wounds are healing.
She somehow has put everything in front of herself.
Freedom. Victory.
The realization that it was all a dream. And that he's...
That little section reminds me of Braveheart as well.
Robert! Robert the Bruce!
Yeah.
The sacrifice that's been made. And for what?
This is my elder nephew, Carney. It's my younger niece.
This scene was interesting conversations. We talked about it a lot because it's a big scene.
there's my
It's
boy.
like, okay, we've got to introduce the kids and the characters to Robert the Bruce, who's just woken up. And he's the king. So you have to do it in a certain way. But yet the stories here really, they start to change your mind, right, about what's important and about what's at stake.
Well, this was, I thought, was going to be... I thought it was going to be the hardest film to shoot and scene to shoot, and I thought it was going to be, in some way, maybe the weakest scene because there was so much backstory which was going to be explained here. I was like, oh my God, are we going to just? Is the film just
Detail
going to
to
stop
plow
dead?
through? Yeah.
And it turned out this is the scene where I start crying. Well, as an audience member, this is the one which gets me, the first one.
You're an archery.
So am I.
She's good. The men in the village have trouble keeping up with her at the gates.
Yeah.
Well, when Ivor
Yeah.
here.
I've never
Well,
knew
we
he
can
was
just
a
listen to
father.
it now. Because this is the best bit.
Ivor's mother died when she was born, and just days later, we learnt Malak had fallen at Falkirk. So I had the 2 wee children.
Ma, tell about the poem.
Loak was a poet. After Talag died, Loak composed a song. There's blood.
In the locks. There is blood. In the hills. And in the rocks. And mountain peaks. And when we look up to our Maker, the sky burns, brushed with the scarlet ink of those hearts we loved. Do not lose hope. That bleeding sky will not succumb to the shadow that darkens this land. For it is just the sun rising above the dirty huts. It is the dawn of a new day.
What's beautiful? Your father wrote that.
Right.
Wow. It's really heartbreaking.
Tell about him.
He was a good man. And good with a sword. And word came that you'd been crowned king, and were fighting for our freedom. Our clan pledged itself to you and raised up an army. My Yoki, he was the younger son, his older brother Branda. He should have gone. But he was the sheriff, so...
We get to hear the history of
He
Brandon
stayed
for the first
behind
time.
while Yoki went in his
And then
place.
why Scott has
Branda's still the
Scott
sheriff.
has trouble with you.
See, this is where the guilt on the Bruce is. He's tried to escape. He just he
Look at him.
can't take it. This is why he doesn't want to fight ever again. He can't handle these families who. This is the reality. Is these people who are widowed and orphaned for his ambition. It's a terrible, terrible weight.
He told
So
us
he's
that
sort
no
of
matter
the
what the odds,
it's the humanizing of
No
an
matter how
aristocrat
difficult
who
the fight, you
lives in a
wouldn't
bubble,
give up.
really.
he wanted to fight the clan to join you again.
The
But
fall
his
of a
wounds
king,
festered.
the birth of a man.
He died right there as you are now.
You know, that's what we should have.
This is the moment.
Yeah, Richie, we should put it on the fall of a king, the birth of a man.
So,
let's do it.
You think you can make them?
Can I make him, he asks.
This is great. These 2 guys
Of course
have
I
a ball
can
together.
make him. Devil's spikes though they are, but I make him.
My men will be bringing you their weapons for sharpening as well. All to be done before the snows melt.
So pretty. Away they go, steel shining in the sunlight, singing songs and smiling. Away they go. I give 'em spikes. Away they go and nary to be seen again.
Great line.
Thank you, Brianna.
Hey.
There's Emma, and of course she's having a love affair with Carney, so she's picking up on all the advice. But her dad's long ago given up on
Before the snow melts, you say?
thinking about bigger things. He's got a great line later, where he says, "I think we think of the metal and not the blood," or something. We think of the gold
You're
and not the
jumping
blood.
ahead.
Something he says later.
You're jumping ahead.
I love this. Not that. I love this.
Not now. I'm cleaning the barn.
And it's still snowing.
Yeah, big time. Oh, look at that little dove.
So was this not the other
This was
half
a
of
fun
the day?
shoot.
Come help me with this.
Wait, Carney.
Yeah. No. It's a different day, but trying to get that dove to fly around at the right time. In this. Jeez. There you go.
It's your fault, Doc. I just told you. I can do it myself.
Ivor, Scott.
Scott's got a great scene here because they don't have anything. They can't answer him back.
Yeah.
Everything he says is true here.
Sorry, both you.
And you get the feeling why
See
he
why we have to set traps anyway.
dislikes the brute.
We've all that venison stored up.
Your ma said so.
It's for the Bruce. She wants more meat. Should have left him where he was.
He's a man. We couldn't just let him die.
My dad died because of him. And so did yours. And yours. Why can't we tell Uncle Blanda about him? We made a promise, Scott. What if he lives and raises an army? What if our lords side with him again? You'll go and fight. What then?
Just set the traps.
Another cold day. Props, Aaron Bailey, amazing job alongside Zach and April in Soundcolor Studios. This is a cool scene.
Yeah, I think this is one of my favorite
What to
scenes.
know? Do you have a plan?
He's trying to man up, but he's
There
he's
your
lost
army.
it.
What about you?
I reckon they'll kill you in your sleep. Take the reward, Scott.
My lord.
Have you ever killed before? Why?
Aye.
What?
Chickens,
Uh-huh.
squirrel, fowl, pigs.
You ever killed a man? You're a good lad. You're strong, full of life. But you know what it takes to be a good soldier?
Killing lots of men.
No. To be a good soldier first, you have to be a good brother, a good friend, and a good son.
I am a good son. Aren't I, Ma?
Aye, Scott.
When you're Carney's age, you'll be ready to fight. Until then, you practice being a good boy, then a good man. And that's what being a good soldier is. Knowing you're fighting the good fight.
What's the good fight?
Well, when you're old enough to know the answer to that, you'll be ready. Now, in the meantime, why don't you take this knife and peel some potatoes for your mother?
Put the knife down now,
He's
Scott.
not my dad. He doesn't tell me what to do in my own house.
Gabriel was great here.
Go,
Scott!
I'm sorry your father isn't here for you. I am sorry he died in my war.
It's the first time the
sorry.
stakes really sets in
He
for the
isn't
family
here
and
to
why
see
they
you grow into a fine young man.
They can't
He'd
fully
be ever
embrace
so
him.
proud of you. But if it's revenge you want, a life for a life, take mine. Be fine.
And that's the turning point. That scene is the turning point with
Yeah.
if Scott's willing to embrace him, and now they can all get on. They can all get on board now. But it took that. This is a beautiful shot here where he's chasing you behind you. And this is your first time coming out. I love this shot. The goats.
Scott! Come and practice. All right, let's start with positioning.
Nice to see you walking around.
Just another beautiful Scottish day.
Montana Day.
Yeah, right.
If our army had had women like you, I think we'd have won our battle by now. And you've raised fine young children.
It's a great scene. It's the first scene you guys get to talk.
Here, let me look at your
You
wounds.
see that what's at stake.
Right. How did it happen?
I think this was our first scene.
3 soldiers came after me. They wanted the reward.
Yeah.
Together, yeah, first solo scene
In
together.
the first week.
I'd have thought the king would have some men with him.
Which kind of worked because it was your
quite,
first
I remember it being quite a tense,
real
tense
dialogue scene together.
to shoot. It was. We were both incredibly
Yeah.
nervous because it was our first big scene of dialogue, and
I truly believe.
And she's trying to be the perfect
Yeah.
humble servant,
God
but of
had
course she
chosen me to
knows
be king.
a little bit more.
And then we lost. God didn't choose me. I did. And everything I did to honor him, and everything I've done.
And isn't that the line? God didn't choose me, I did. Isn't that it? Doesn't sum everything up.
I had a dream. I was king. We were free. I thought it was real.
Maybe it was a premonition.
Your son, Scott, was in that dream with me.
Open your cloak.
I shall leave here soon.
You'll leave when you're well.
Healing me is treason in these lands. You've given enough.
I've made my choice to heal you. And we'll defend you the best we can. Aye, you're my king. I know I'm your servant. But until you're well, I'm your nurse. You're my patient. You'll do as I say.
yeah.
I love that. Oh, now this is a good scene. You and Talitha here. Fantastic.
Can we visit you when you're back in your
Yeah,
castle?
this was before the big snow hit that area.
I'll no return to my castle.
Yeah, and it sums up a lot about what we were all talking about what it meant to be king and what possessions meant and how relevant or irrelevant they were.
Me? See, no one owns anything. This land was here before any of us. It'll be here long after. You can't even belong to anyone. Not really.
Perhaps we belong to it.
Perhaps. I'd like to live in a castle. Only want to say it's mine, though.
Yeah.
And that's the line, isn't it? I'd like to live in a
She's so
castle,
good.
but I wouldn't want to say it's mine. And there's a moment here.
King Robert, is this your sword?
Where did you find that?
My uncle gave it to me to fix.
So this is a big moment here because he's
We've
giving
got
you back
three
your
big
sword, but the
scenes
Bruce
here.
doesn't want to fight anymore.
There's this one. There's the one with Scott coming, which we had. There's this, the one with Morag, the one with Ivor.
It's yours.
These are all these moments where the family is
Won't see you, the
getting tighter.
You do better to
He wants to become a part of a family unit.
risk your neck with me.
You risked your life for Scotland. For us.
And he also
Do the
knows
same for you.
the repercussions that might bring.
He's really stuck between a rock and a hard place, isn't he? Well, what are you going to do?
And of course, with
Yeah.
their fathers dying for him, they want to know it was for something. And this is the night where you try to kind of give them the chance to go.
Yeah.
We don't need to do this. We can just live and don't worry about it.
Are you all right?
You fear for Scott? Listen, I'll not take your son. There'll be no more wars, and I'll fight again.
Aye, you will.
And I think he legitimately wanted to retreat at this point and just was relishing living on the farm, right?
Here with you and the children.
He doesn't want. He's been to their graves. He doesn't want more people to
A
die.
farmer with muck between his toes.
No.
Aye.
No. 10,000 wives. 10,000 mothers. We need to know our men died for something.
And she says it all right there, like, why did everybody die if it wasn't going to be for something bigger?
Keep your children. Keep them.
I think that's my favorite line.
My son has a destiny no mother's tears can change.
And that's there, isn't it? Yeah.
Our fate is
It's
tied
bigger
to
than
yours.
her. And this is fun, and we had fun doing this stuff because the Bruce was well again, and they're now into training, and he's now passing it on to them. But it's also telling, though, that they're still playing who killed who, right? Beautiful shot.
Do you know where it is?
What's it?
And this is cool because we saw you with the crown earlier on, and we switched this up in the edit. That it was kind of cool to forget about it and then have you lead them back there.
What is it?
Look inside.
Is this the crown?
I now pronounce you Queen of the
Yeah.
forests and the glens and the fairies.
The true brother and sister
Ballywick.
reaction.
Now you're dead. Does that mean I'm king?
Ooh. Very good. Scott's turn.
It's his fault! You have to shout when you're picking out the...
Again, I think the music from Mel really summed this scene up.
Yeah.
This is that little bit of hope we get before the shit goes down. This bonding that you guys could
Yeah,
have
well,
been a
it's,
family.
what's gonna go down is gonna go down, and this is all the preparation for it.
Steady. It's your anger.
Yes.
It'll kill you not.
Kanye never had a father, so this is particularly rewarding for him. It works.
Come on.
That was so hard, you guys fighting in the snow, because we couldn't,
Yeah,
when we did
so
the
we
wide
was
shots, we
slipping and
couldn't have
sliding
your claws,
everywhere.
what are they called? The spikes on your shoes. So whenever we did yes, it was really tough. Johnny got these really old lenses, this old glass from Panavision for all these shots. You can tell how soft it is. It's really cool. Again, so lucky with the lighting and the continuity of the sun coming.
really like the music.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
We'll get that soundtrack out soon with that Lulu song on there as well.
Yes.
So Lulu, who has a song in the end of the film, you're old-time friends with Lulu? And if you listen, you gotta wait to the end of the credits, but you'll see original song, and she didn't write it till she saw the film, and she loved it, and that's what she wrote. It's pretty nice. It's a beautiful scene. That's my friend Ian, Scottish guy living in Montana, delivering the bad news.
Sharp enough for you?
Aye. And if the man we seek is alive, I'll cleave his head in two.
I bet you.
Kevin has all the best one-liners.
All boys
How
will
did that
kill
happen?
their enemies, and all their enemies are boys.
Yeah, the dullest mind in
Sharpest,
the valley.
what is it? Sharpest blade in the village.
You should ask your boyfriend.
Dullest mind in the valley.
His family gave him aid.
On your way, lad.
But say nothing to Brenda.
On your way, I said, and take Al Scrapey with you. Fool. Aye. Fool. Sharpest sword in the world wasted on the dullest mind in the
There it
valley.
is.
Da. That sword Carney brought you. The big one.
This was Emma's first day of filming,
Yeah.
and she wanted to be so.
Yes, I remember.
authentic
She
with
was going blue.
She did all this running through the
A loaf
snow.
of bread,
And so when you watch
True
her
blue
run-
scones.
yeah,
By and by, like
She going
clouds in
blue.
the sky.
and she wouldn't take
What a man's hands must do.
a blanket or anything. She
think of
she
the
wanted to
blade,
feel what it would feel like to make that trek in the snow.
No.
Diana! Diana!
Filming all this at the magic hour as well was incredibly hard. Because in the winter here you get so little daylight. All this beautiful editing, Haley Brown, our editor, she really made this kind of a special montage this one. Her face is red like that because she was
You
in the
helped
snow
him.
for a long, long time. She wanted to be.
Been on the way. Branda and his men. My dad's been making arms. When will they come? In the morning, I'm sure. Carney, if you're on, I'm coming with you.
Aye.
Like ice.
Although they only had a few scenes together, I think Brandon and Amber set up something that was believable, which was credit to them. And which are all the more sadder in the end with these guys. But this is a scene we kind of improvised, Angus, if you remember.
Yeah.
The looking at the door, which I think came out knowing what was inevitable.
Well, I mean, at some point, if we get the... we have a few scenes which got edited out, which would be nice to have as extras at some point. That Commonwealth speech.
This is This morning after is kind of cool. It's
This is great, yeah.
Because they're kids and they've chosen to fight.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful shot. So Zach and Shane and Shore is set on this mountain for 3 hours to do this one shot here. And it was
Even the horses didn't want to. The horses didn't want to go.
It was so cold up there. But and look, you can see the town in the background. To see the croft in the background there, like it's fleeting, but for us it was really important because everything was real. And so when they're looking out at that mountaintop, they could see those horses, and when they looked down, they could see the croft. Nothing was.
You've changed the king I'll be, and the land we'll live in. Now, if it comes to a fight, some of us might not see the sunset.
Remember, you did this scene a few
but that
different
is the
ways.
true
and
nature
this,
of war.
the way it's finished up, I'm really proud of.
But know this.
No, I never wanted to yell it.
In your eyes, what Scotland can be.
More dramatic. It's real. The realism.
You felt her fear and her rage.
I didn't need to shout it because my voice was so fucked from the smoke in that room and from being sick for weeks that it was all the way down an extra octave. So.
We have known Scotland clutched in the grip of a mighty hand, and now we'll
Again, I love the editing that Haley's done here, cutting from each person to them getting ready. There's just so many great touches. And the tension which builds here. Here they come. The inevitable is finally here.
Shooting Zack in slow motion always works. And you got Shore's. Shane, I mean, these guys just look. This is a cool, again. It feels like a Western to me.
Suddenly, Uncle Brandon is no longer the nice guy. Better keep practicing.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck you.
That's his nephew.
I know I'm Mr. Nice Guy here.
Better keep practicing.
Oh, what's... there's that little Shore's mistake. The beanie goes to the helmet. I'm just mentioning it because I never want him to live it down.
Yeah, the helmet to beanie. That's one for you guys to pick up.
I've got one myself
That's
with the gloves.
continuity gaff. You guys can go back and rewind and watch it. Hey. This is great.
So the idea here was to really create... one of my favorite films from the 70s was Straw Dogs, where the fight is from within the confines of the house and protecting the house. And so that was the idea here, was the entire battle is surrounded around this small property with a handful of people, but it's no less dramatic. In fact, it's more dramatic because you've gotten to know these children, and it's now children who are fighting grown men.
We have more than we could eat all winter.
It's the kids, and from when I was growing up, I was remembering like Swiss Family Robinson, and just thinking about how these guys have booby-trapped and set up this place to protect it. They've got slim to no chance, but they have been training for it.
The balance just right. Heavy but strong.
And Anna's great here because you believe that she's trying to... The way to stop this violence is that if he would just accept that she's going to come to town and she's going to be with him, then maybe this doesn't have to happen. But his hatred for Bruce overpowers his love for her.
It's a fine property.
And it must have been hard standing there, Angus, just watching through the window.
He was happy here. With you.
Aye.
Eddie. All this. Him gone. I told you when I returned. I'd be bringing Carney back to the village. He's of age.
Yes,
I'm with him.
I thought of it. It was a cold winter.
I was.
I've work to do here before we leave. A month, maybe 2. Then I'll join you.
And be my wife.
Aye.
And share my bed.
I've been married before. I know what wives do.
I'm sure of it.
You almost believe that it's going to come off for them now. She's hating kissing him, but it's what can save the family.
Let's go inside.
Let me finish what I have to do here first. Then you can have me when you want.
Take me inside.
Take patience.
Now.
Patience.
You've seen no one? All through the winter.
What would I say about the children?
Not a man. You've not nursed a man through the winter here in my brother's house. Give him to me, and I'll take you as my wife. But protect him, and I'll have no choice. Think of the children, Carney, Arthur, your Scott, and you, last of all, you, Morag, to be the sight of Worms.
He's our king!
Bastard!
Wow. So this sequence was designed over many weeks to get the choreography right, and also the timing for the weather, because it took us a week to shoot this fight scene, and we had to have all the different elements plugged in, and so there were all these different storylines going on. There was Carney leading the guys away to Ivor in the trees. There was Scott up the tree getting other guys, and there's of course the main fight with Brenda and the Bruce, which goes indoors. But to get everything to sync up and to go, we tried to run it rehearsals like it would all happen at the same time,
family is under my protection.
which is intense.
Lay down your swords.
And so hopefully by now you've seen that Shorus's character, Donald, has seen enough of Brandon, and we've seen him not liking his ways 2 or 3 times before, and so his switch here is what's integral. If he hadn't switched sides here, they wouldn't have won.
The editing here is it's really wonderful how this whole thing plays out. And as I recall, as fate would have it on the day, well, for the week before, we'd fallen a wee bit behind with things and with other sections, and our stuntman had to go off and come back, and we really actually, in the end, didn't get time to rehearse. This entire section was kind of played.
No.
We played it fast and loose on the day.
These guys were great. So Emma and Shane here, when everybody's going all out.
But I remember we had like a couple of hours rehearsal maybe in the hotel, and really not enough to.
Yeah.
To.
No. And Diz and these we had the best stunt guys. They all flew in because they loved Braveheart and they wanted to do the film. And having this quality of stunt coordinator and stunt action guys was what made the difference. And also look at these guys, how much they're giving it to it.
It also helps that guys like Zach, have done this for so long. He's practicing. He could be a stuntman. He's done it for so long.
They've done so much action.
Yeah, I mean, he is a stuntman.
He could
So when
jumps
you're
off the
doing
horse,
these things,
he-
you know,
he can
there's
shoot an
there's
arrow.
no
Yeah.
room for error, and you feel very safe doing it with a guy like Zach because he's a
No.
pro.
Yeah. That's a great hit.
He knows how to sell a move,
Great
you know, how to sell a beating.
Yeah. And that was the stunt coordinator shooting that arrow into Shores, and then this stuff here. I mean, we don't have visual effects, so everything you're seeing here is real. Is we did it in camera, and very happy about that.
And just the sense of vulnerability here.
And then the sister, yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. It was a great hit. And when these guys hug, it's like, oh wow.
We're still at it.
How are they still alive? This was
Yes.
fun. I remember the debate about how many pans he could throw. But Zach's a good sport. Zach will take it all. You guys both just. This is big. I love that Anna gets to save the day because she's what made it happen in the first place. And I remember you were incredibly humble about that. You had no want, like
Yeah.
other actors or other characters might be like, oh, I've got to kill him. But you
Well,
were
I
very
was slightly
satisfied with
concerned
how
because
it's-
you always know,
displayed.
you know, there's going to be a portion of the audience who's going to go, he's not a real guy. But it's like, you know, he's an older man. That's a young guy. And he's wounded. He's not completely 100% right.
And seven versus one. Uh-huh. I remember this. This was gold. Johnny was sitting on that crane for the whole day. But it's beautiful. It's the same spot where you looked at the graves at the start of the movie. It meant so much to these guys. I can't say enough about
Here we are in
Gabriel, Talitha, Brandon. And
Yes.
yeah, I mean this.
back in Glencoe.
And now we're back in Scotland. This is
Right off that
Glencoe.
road.
This is beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which everyone's driven down, and this was.
Yeah.
Again, we got lucky with the weather, didn't we?
Well, because we're heading out of the snows and we're heading into the valley again.
Yeah, yeah. You're heading up the river scene. This is a beautiful little spot here, isn't it?
Love it.
And then the Bruce theme comes in again. And this was something that Mel, the composer, was big on. He's like, yeah, this score right now, it's not like James Horner, God rest his soul. Like, these days people want a more modern score. But in a film like this, you want to have a theme. And the Bruce has
Now
that
this
theme, and it
was
feels
again, we were just outside of Stirling.
authentic.
And we shot this on the weekend, and we started heading north,
Stirling,
and literally the next day, this was like 4 feet of this, the beast of the east.
It was snowed. We wouldn't have
4
been able
feet
to
of
do
snow,
it. Yeah.
which wouldn't have worked for us because
Yep.
they were coming
Yeah.
out of the snows into the greens. So we got so lucky.
What's your name?
There's Gianni,
Where are you from?
good friend of yours, that did us a favor. So
Are you
lucky.
with England or the Bruce? Are you with England or the Bruce?
This bit's all great. I love it because you don't know what's going to happen here. Daniel Portman.
Who might you be, riding through my forest?
So Daniel was shooting Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But the timing worked out, so he could come and play McGregor, right?
A McGregor. Angus McGregor.
I love this. I love this.
Is that Robert?
Being a fellow Scot, he's known this story for as long. And then you get to see James Douglas again, and we haven't seen him since he was knocked out after his friend was killed, and it's a big moment here.
This family saved my life.
And again, we're at the fort.
Yes, we're just outside Stirling shooting this at
Kept me
Duncarron.
alive through the winter months.
Chick Allen, and thank you for those guys for allowing us to film here. It's a beautiful place.
They're my family now.
And look at the weather we got.
Not by blood. But through the spirit
This is
that
the only
unites
speech
us all.
Robert the Bruce makes again.
Again, it was
My name is Angus of the Clan
Talks
MacDonald.
about family.
You've done a great service to your king and to Scotland. I welcome you to our lands, and I pledge to you all that you will be cared for by our clan, and you'll make a good home here.
Dan's great here. He also gave us the best tour of Scotland. Us Aussies had a lot of whiskey.
Right, I missed that one. and of course there's still a big rallying speech to come, and I didn't want to do another one because I'd done that one in the house to the family.
It was scripted. It was scripted actually.
Angus,
that Bruce
what did you
gave this
find?
next speech.
And it didn't feel right.
But right, and then you said you should give it like you did with Jared. Like it didn't feel right to you, and
I searched
you,
far and wide
Once
for
again,
you.
it's a moment where I think the silence is a better answer, because you're waiting to see what is he going to do. We still don't know here. Look.
No.
He's talked
you're
about
meant to go
family.
home. They didn't go. They told them to put their swords
and to
down.
see James Douglas back here was
But they kept them
meant
sharp.
a big deal. I think it's a great
waiting
piece.
for you, all across the country.
Because he never gave
Tell
up.
me that
on
you'll
them.
lead us. Tell me that we will fight again.
And you don't know yet.
Through this winter,
No.
you and
There's that
I,
ambiguity.
all of Scotland, have been waiting,
Here it is.
hoping, believing that our fight for freedom would start again. This is the day that we have been waiting for. For our king
It
lives.
would have been one speech too many for the Bruce.
Send out riders, far and wide.
And it was James
Tell them
Douglas's, like you
it's
said,
time to
like it
rise
was
again.
his speech to give.
Tell them it is time we fight again.
And you've said your piece.
Tell them it is time to make ourselves free. Bruce! 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 Bruce!
I remember this day like yesterday.
The music is so stirring.
Again, wow, score. So nice to see all the kids
That's
there.
our story, Scott.
But she also knows she's looking at him.
Your
It's beautiful.
story. Your blood set us free at Bannockburn. I see you everywhere. You in the morning mist. You in all the wee beasties. You in the river running free. You in the evening laughter. You in my dreams.
Never forget you, listen. Anna, she's amazing.
Stoic.
Yeah.
Sort of that thing of let the audience cry for you. You hold it in so that they can cry.
She held it. And you and Eric with these titles, this sums it all up. The King of Scots. Never owned a castle. That's the Isle of Skye for you right there. Thank you, champions, for listening to our drivel.
Wow.
And I hope you got to see it at the cinema, and I hope you reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. It was a labor of love, wasn't it?
It certainly was. It's wonderful to be able to actually watch it. And thank you to all of to the amazing crew, without whom this would not have happened. Vicky, who was like Jack Nicholson in The Shining by the end of it, wandering the corridors, looking completely
of
mad.
Our hotel.
Yeah, at 6 a.m. every morning.
We had this hotel, which was beautiful. And we all stayed there, and we all lived there, and we all drank there.
I loved that hotel.
The Pioneer.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
The Pioneer.
It
These
shut down
actors
though,
gave
right after we left. It's now shut down.
But that we gave them one good winter, didn't we?
Oh, it was fantastic. It was the liveliest spot in town for what, 11 weeks.
Yeah.
It was the spot everybody came to. Because we were all in the bar just going mad at night.
At night, because it was so cold. And these actors, whether they were friends of yours or friends of mine or friends of other people, they came and they did their job. And the crew
worked hard, played hard.
Crazy. Worked hard, played hard. Yeah. And we didn't even know, like you said at the start, we didn't even know we'd get to set any given day, did we?
No, we didn't. It was the second day. We thought we were wrapped, finished. I think we had.
And if you keep listening now, you're gonna eventually hear.
And here's Lulu.
Lulu's song. It's coming right now.
And by the stream, I see you and your father's face.
Wrote this song for the film.
You left me to fight for king and country.
Yeah, so Lulu read the screenplay and saw an earlier cut of the film and wrote this song.
We learned through eyes of innocence when first.
Yes, on that note, thank you for watching the film, and this is Angus McFadgen signing off. Thank you, Richie, for making this happen.
And thank you for making my dreams come true, my brother.
Thank you, mate. Yeah.
In the fight to breathe
Okay.
the blessed air of freedom. Oh, my boy, you know I understand. I knew you had to go away and fight, my brave wee man. You're mine. till we're back together, and together we'll stay. I love you like I love this land. I couldn't love you more. From sacred peaks to wind-blown shores, where the mighty eagle soar. Your sacrifice for victory has let my spirit roar. Finally, my lips can kiss the blessed air